Taven, this shit crazy.
All right, hour two, Sean Hannity Show, toll free, number 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program. Mentioned in the last hour that, okay, now it looks like the Biden campaign is angry, and they're angry. You know, Joe Biden has a history of these bizarre comments, and this is separate and apart from the fact that this guy makes a gaffe a second here. But if you think back, we're going to put you all back in chains. My state is a slave state. For the first time, you got an African American, and he's bright and articulate and clean. I'm like, it's storybook, man. I never got over that one. You can't work in a Dunkin' Donuts or a 7-Eleven unless you have a slight Indian accent. And I'm just thinking, okay, if any Republican says these sorts of things, there's going to be a very different response. Now, with this new ad out by Bernie Sanders, we now have the Biden campaign pretty ticked off. Co-chairman Cedric Richmond, member of the Congressional Black Caucus from Louisiana, telling reporters on a conference call the fact that Sanders is on TV with negative attack ads and consistently saying the establishment is teaming up against him. He says, well, no African-American voters have made a conscious decision that we fought and we earned civil rights through blood, sweat, and tears. Then he said, and so, as he rails against the establishment, I didn't know that African Americans in the South were considered part of the establishment. So I don't know what they're suggesting there about Bernie Sanders. I'll let you interpret that. Now, this tape that I've been telling you about in the last hour, it is on Cleveland.com. They reported on this in 2019. The City Club of Cleveland put up a speech given by Biden in 1973. Long time ago. Think of all the people that went after Michael Bloomberg, though, for his policies and comments going back 17 years as it relates to, we only arrest minority kids for marijuana. Why? Well, we only put all police in minority neighborhoods. Why? Because that's where all the crime is. And I think became a very big issue for Bloomberg and the disaster that he had Tuesday night. As you hear these comments, it's a younger Joe Biden, by the way, very different cadence, maybe a faster pitch than he certainly has now. And anyway, the way he apologizes to women for using a football analogy. I didn't know there'd be women here. Politicians do more good than doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs. He said that too. Admits that he would have taken money from special, but referring to a woman as a kiddo and complimenting her lovely appearance, and then uses language. Well, it's the N-word, but not the N-word, the other N-word. I don't want to say the word. It's offensive to me. But anyway, let's play it.
But I don't think anything has assaulted the system and the fundamental makeup of this country as much as this Watergate thing has. And the only analogy I can really think of is a football analogy. And I apologize to you women in the audience for not being able to think of a more appropriate analogy, but they told me here they didn't want you here anyway. I didn't expect any women to be here. We spend a lot of time talking about the United States being a melting pot. Well, that's true. But quite frankly, I think it's overrated. We've been able to move forward because of politics. And in my opinion, politics need not necessarily be a dirty word. Politics should be the most honorable of professions. Those of you who are doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs in the audience, how can any of you possibly do as much good if you're very good at what you do as I can do if I'm very good at what I can do? You can't. So the point is, this is where the action is. To run in my state costs $300,000 this time around, or between $250,000 and $300,000. I don't know the exact figure. That's more money than any Democrat in my state has ever spent. And the young new white knight, he spent it. Spent more money than my opponent. Only because he didn't take me seriously, and he had another $90,000 left over. He didn't know how to spend it in the last week when they realized I was a serious candidate. But seriously, in trying to raise that money, I fortunately had over 3,000 individual contributors. Nobody makes up any more than 1 percentage point of my total budget. Nobody for 1 percentage point gets a hold of that ear. Nobody gets any more than a return phone call for that 1%. But it's not because I'm particularly moral. It's because nobody took me seriously. Had in the beginning when I started, big corporations or big labor or big wealthy individuals or big anybody come along and said, here, Biden, we want to contribute $20,000 to you, I probably would have taken it. Not probably, I would have taken it. Because I had to go out and borrow $20,000 and put a second mortgage on my house to get that 20 to start. But nobody took me seriously. Yes, sir, ma'am.
Yeah, Senator, I find you very articulate. May I ask
I find you
to the
very
best...
lovely. Come on up front.
The rest is not very good.
That's what I thought. That's why I tried to compliment you. I thought I'd scare you out of it.
To the best of your knowledge, Senator, do you believe that the Democratic Party has ever been involved in something as atrocious as bugging?
Sure, yes. Yes, I do. But bugging isn't the question, kiddo. We're not even talking about bugging. You know, the rumor was that Robert Kennedy used to walk into his office in the morning when he was a senator and pick up the phone and say, hello, everybody, how are you? And the counter to that was the reason he was able to pick it up and say that is when he was Attorney General, he was doing the bugging. So, you know, I'm sure that bugging has gone on. And I'm sure, and that's offensive to everyone. It's particularly offensive to somebody like me who's being bugged if I am. But as one of my colleagues said, Joe, you're not important enough yet to be bugged, so don't worry about it. He's probably right. But really and truly, it has gone on.
Senator,
yes, Mr. Justice.
For some time I've had the feeling that the Southern senators are warmer now toward the problems of the nation in America. Have you had private conversations with them, or do you feel that way about it, or have they talked to you privately about their changed attitude toward these problems?
I have had a number of conversations with the Southern senators, and we get about 40 to 50 requests a week to speak nationally, and just as if I were elected with one eye, I'd be an anomaly, and they'd want me to speak. I'm 30. That's not because of any merit. Just because I'm 30, they want to see if I can talk. And the places that we go, that I've told my staff the places I want to go, by and large, are the South, because I'm most unfamiliar with the South. So I've had occasion to speak in the South fairly frequently, party. And I think the two-party system, although my Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this, I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the good for the black in the South. Other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind.
All right, there it is. Joe Biden, 1973. Vince Ellison is with us, conservative columnist, lecturer, author of the book, The Iron Triangle. Burgess Owens, both friends of the program, by the way, former NFL player, part of the Super Bowl winning Oakland Raiders. And by the way, now a candidate for Congress in Utah's 4th Congressional District, and I hope you win. Welcome both of you to the program. Vince, let's start with you. Okay, 1973, different place, different time. Does this impact the race? Because in my imagination, I think if this was Donald Trump on tape, it'd be a big deal.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, surprise, surprise, surprise. I mean, Joe's been doing this his whole career. He hasn't changed. It's the same thing. He sees black people with his condescending, attitude. The very fact that they're saying they got the black vote down south is ridiculous because they assume that all black people are Democrats. They got the black Democrat votes down south, not the black independent or the black Republican votes down south. But they say the black vote, and they talk about it like as a Democratic monolith. You have me and Burgess on your show. That proves it's not a monolith right there. So You know, and when he brings Clyburn up there, I don't know why they bring him up, because of 25 years since he's been there, his district, he started out his district was the poorest, most crime-ridden, most ill-educated district in the South, and it still is. If you wanted someone to come up there and speak for black people, at least it should have been someone that has done some good for the black community. They look at us as a community that they want to control, that they want to keep back, that they want to stomp down, and they will put someone up in front of us that has done nothing but keep us poor, uneducated, and under the foot of the Democratic Party to tell us to keep going in the same direction and in the same direction. And Joe Biden brings him out, puts him out in front of black people, say this is our standard bearer. This is what we call progress. This is what they call progress. The poverty, unemployment, gangs, drugs, terrible schools, violence, prison. They bring Jim Clyburn out, and they activate the Iron Triangle and tell them to get the buses rolling, get the street money out, and get the black people to vote for Joe Biden, and bam, they all jump right into order. And this is how Biden sees us. He sees us as people that he can control, people that he wants to do what he tells them to do, and if they don't, they're no good for him. That's Joe Biden.
Let me bring in Burgess Owen into this race. I hope your race is going well out in Utah. And I've known you now for a long period of time, and I think you'd be a great congressman. And the people of Utah would be lucky to have you serving that district. What is your reaction to the tapes? You know, and then also a little bit of, you know, all these things that he has said regarding race over the years, which I have found offensive. And Democrats, I guess, have two standards for Republicans' comments and Democrats' comments to me, Burgess.
Yeah. Well, let me first of all make a quick plug. Burgess for Utah.com. Support me, guys. It's going to change our country. Anyway, you know, I've been waiting 30 years for us to be at this point. We have this kind of conversations. We are experiencing a sea change. You know, I've always known from 30 years ago that the Democratic Party looks at the black race as objects. They think that we think with our skin. They look at us as something which they can bring out every 4 years, use, and then put aside until the next 4 years. We're having now an environment in which we're not only thinking, we're racing, we're sprinting off this plantation, and I'm so excited to see it. Because you're right, people like Biden, and I would say this also, we have to understand who our true enemy has been, guys. You know, I've watched this for years. It's not been the white supremacists. My dad's generation and the generation before that kicked butt. They were able to do great things in our country in terms of education, entrepreneurship, leadership. It's been the black elitists that's been our biggest problem. These Marxists pull out when they need them, speak to our race as if they care for us, and then we go out and vote for the same people that's been keeping us in misery for decades. The black elitists, the black caucus, the NAACP, those that live in the American dream, and then telling the rest of us we can't do so because the white man won't let us, because they're getting paid every single that they get their power from the fact that they vote for anti-black policies that keep us misery. So I'm excited about where we are now.
I want to be one American family here. And the president says that in his speech, with one glorious nation under God, one American family. And the fact that we have experienced such economic prosperity and success and unemployment record lows, and et cetera, is great for the country. And you guys are both amazing. Got to take a break. We'll come back. 800-941-SEAN, toll free.